Today in Matt's class, we are going to discuss the importance of line weights. There's a lot we can talk about with line weights. If you've ever looked at any kind of figure drawing or comic books or manga, you'll notice that all of the line art has different thicknesses. Some of it has thick lines, there's areas that have thin lines, there's areas in between. Sometimes there's lines that are thicker going to thin, and sometimes there's thin going to thicker. It's hard to make sense of it all, and sometimes when you're doing your own drawings, you might do a pencil sketch that looks good, but then when you ink it or when you kind of put in your contour line, it almost feels like you ruined it. Like, oh, like I thought putting thick lines around everything would look good, or I thought that maybe if I put thick lines in the face or in the details, but now it doesn't look as good. So there's a lot we can talk about, but today I just wanted to go over some of the basics of line quality. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to just kind of basically draw out a figure, and then I'm going to show you how to use the line art with it. So I have a basic figure mapped out here, and now it's time to put in my contour line. So ideally what you want to do for the most part, and this is just basic line quality, we're going to get into some more complicated line quality in a future video, but for today, one of the basic things that you want to do, anything that's on the outside of the figure, you want to use a darker, thicker line. Then anything that you have on the inside that's a detail, you want that to be a smaller, thinner line. And I know sometimes that seems counterintuitive. I see a lot of times students will almost do the opposite, and if there's details in the face, they feel like, oh, I need to make those dark and I need to make those thick because people look at the face, right? But it's usually the opposite. Usually the details are something that's like a secondary. When you're looking at the figure, you want a bold, thicker line on the outside to kind of separate that figure as an element from the rest of the environment. So here's what you want to do. Let's say on the outside of this figure, got something kind of like this. So at first, I've just got all of these lines really thin, but the outside lines you can make a little bit bolder. Watch what happens. So now you can see the shape of our figure is actually standing out a little bit more, and it's nice because you can kind of see the overall shape of the figure, but then a lot of the lines on the inside areas like the pit of the neck and the clavicle. You don't really want to make dark lines there because then it'll almost feel like someone took a really thick Sharpie or a bingo marker and just put this really thick line there that doesn't really exist. When you've got the thin line, you kind of see it more as definition. Now, there's a little bit more to it because you have some areas that are kind of crossing over and you have certain shapes that are overlapping other shapes. So in that case, sometimes you want to carry out the lines a little bit thicker. Right here, you've got the jaw is overlapping the neck. So this, you could actually help it by having it a little bit thicker as it crosses in front of the neck. And then areas here where the arm kind of comes in front there, and the arm comes in front there. So that helps a little bit more. Now it feels not like it's just an outline, but it kind of makes all of the appendages or all of these extra parts that are overlapping feel like it's in front. Now the next thing you want to do, let's say we draw the same thing, but let's say his arm is kind of crossing in front here. Let's do this one. Wearing a watch, an Apple Watch, and he's going to be looking at what time it is. So I'm going to draw all thinner lines first. All right, so now that I've got this arm crossing over, these markers are starting to erase the lines underneath a little bit. All right, so if all I do is put the dark lines on the outside, this arm is a little bit weird. It's almost like it's lost a little bit because now the arm and this Apple Watch, it's just become part of the chest now. It's a smaller detail. So because this arm is overlapping, it's like a brand new element kind of in front of the body behind it. So you would actually want to make this a thicker line around here as well. Maybe not as thick as the entire line around the body, but definitely thicker than the detail line. So watch what happens when you go in and make it a little bit thicker. Now it totally feels like that arm is passing in front of it. In fact, I might have gone a little bit too thick on that arm because now it's just as thick as everything else, but definitely it feels like the arm is coming out in front of it. You could maybe make this line a little bit thicker, the side of the pectoral here, to make that stand out. Something like that. You could also do something fun just to make your character stand out. You could add some kind of tone in the background. If you're inking like comic book style, you could do cross hatching, or if you're shading, you could kind of shade some kind of tone in the background. And that just kind of helps make the character stand out a little bit from the background. But do you see how this makes the character look a little bit more voluptuous, a little bit more three-dimensional? It really helps that we've got the thicker lines on the outside and the thinner detail lines on the inside. Now we're going to get more complicated than that. There's lots that we can do with some other techniques that are going to make it look even better than what we did today, but that's just some basic line weights that you want to think about. This is used, by the way, with all kinds of drawing, not just things that are organic like figure drawing or comic books and manga, but even blueprints and technical drawings. When you look at anything that has some kind of form to it, usually, even if it's something vector or any of that, usually it's putting a more bold line on the outside and thinner details on the inside. It just really pops. It really helps separate this subject from whatever the background is, and it's really going to help your illustration. So you want to start working on those line weights. Did you enjoy class today? If so, give me a like. If there's something you'd like to see me cover in a future video, let me know what that is in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I've also got a video series called Sketchbook Challenge that helps your drawing, creativity, and fill up an awesome looking sketchbook. Plus, there are videos on You Can Draw Star Wars, Hollywood is Dead, and sneak peeks at the Aladdin 3477 motion picture trilogy. In order to not miss any new videos, hit that notification bell. Sharing is caring, and it's great to inspire your friends. Share this video on social media and your friends will share awesome art tips they find with you. If you're on Instagram, you can follow me at Matt_Busch_Instagram. I'll see you back in the classroom soon. Don't be tardy.